Every year, Niche releases their list of best places to live in Connecticut. And every year, people treat it like it's the final answer. Like, if a town is ranked number 1, that automatically means it's the best place for you to live. But here's the reality. What makes a town rank highly on paper doesn't always translate to real life, or to what you actually want day to day. And I've seen this play out so many times, over and over again with relocation buyers. In fact, I'm actually working with a couple right now relocating from just outside of Chicago. And their experience is a perfect example of this. So in this video, I'm going to break down what Niche gets right, where the list actually falls short, and how to actually use it if you're thinking about moving to Connecticut. Because if you rely on rankings alone, there's a very real chance you end up in the wrong town. If we haven't met yet, my name's David Constant, and I'm a local realtor here, right in central Connecticut. And I specialize in helping people relocate from all over the country, especially families and professionals coming from places like New York City, Boston, Chicago, and Florida. And one of the most common things I see is buyers showing up with a list, and that's it. They've got their top 3, maybe top 5, and almost every single time, the towns come from one of these top 5 lists. And listen, it's not a bad thing, but where people get tripped up is assuming that a high-ranking town is automatically a great fit for them. And those are two very different things. If you're thinking about calling Connecticut home soon, or you're just wondering what it would be like to live there, make sure you download my free relocation guide down below. I take you through all the local hotspots, hospitals, employers, restaurants. And before we dive in, if you're thinking about calling Connecticut home soon, or just wondering what it's like to live here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the bell for notifications, because I come out with videos just like this every single week, where I break down the pros and cons of towns, map tours, best places to live, worst places to live, and everything in between. And if you live in the area and you're familiar with Niche's list, make sure you drop a comment below. I want to hear directly from you. Where did Niche get it right? And more importantly, where did Niche get it wrong? So if you look at this year's rankings, you're going to notice something pretty quickly. And it's simple. It's a lot of the same towns we're seeing year after year. Places like West Hartford, Avon, Simsbury, Farmington, Glastonbury, and South Windsor. And you're also going to see a few towns from Fairfield County. And honestly, none of this should be surprising, because all of these towns share a very similar profile that value things like top-rated schools, low crime rate, higher than average household incomes, really well-maintained neighborhoods and common spaces, and strong local amenities. And when you combine all of that, you get towns that rank at the top of some of these lists. So from a data standpoint, these are absolutely some of the strongest towns in the state. Now, before we get into what they even got wrong, let's just take a look at the top of the list, because there's actually something really interesting happening here. When you look at the top 10 towns in Connecticut, about 6 of them are actually located right here in Hartford County. And that might be surprising for some folks who think, where's the Madisons, the Guilfords, the coastal towns, or why aren't there more towns from Litchfield County or even down in Fairfield County? So if you look at the map here, you'll notice towns like West Hartford, Avon, Farmington, Glastonbury, Simsbury, and South Windsor, all surrounding the greater Hartford metro area. And what does that tell you? It tells you that Hartford County consistently checks a lot of boxes for a lot of buyers. You've got really strong public schools, you've got really great household incomes, and a really strong quality of life. People often ask me, why in the world is Hartford ranked at the top of Zillow's list for best real estate markets in the country? And it's really simple. And this doesn't mean that all of these towns are going to be the best fit for everyone. It just means there's a lot of variety, and most of these towns tend to check a lot of boxes for a lot of people. So let's start with what Niche actually gets right, because after all, there is a reason that people trust it. Number 1 on the list is always schools. If schools are your top priority, and they often are for a lot of people, this is an incredibly helpful list. And here's why. When you see these towns that are consistently highly rated and oftentimes score an A+ or an A on rankings like Niche's own or US News and World Report, it's because their school systems are not just good, they're consistently high performing across multiple areas. We're not talking just test scores, we're definitely not talking just athletics, and we're certainly not talking just extracurriculars. We're talking the entire package. All of these towns offer a wide range of extracurricular programming, strong special education services, really competitive athletics, and top tier academic programming. You've got a variety of college level courses at these high schools. You've got AP courses, ECE courses, IB courses, and everything in between. And year after year, you've got students graduating, going to the Ivy Leagues, going to local state universities, and contributing to the local towns. So if you're a family who's coming from out of state and you want confidence in the school district as a whole and don't have to worry about cherry picking what elementary school or middle school or best high school in the region to go to, you can rest assured that if you pick the right town with a strong school system, that will alleviate so many of your worries. Remember that Chicago couple I was talking about earlier? Their top priorities were strong schools, a strong sense of community, and that classic New England charm. So naturally, many of the towns on this list were worth exploring, and we're gonna get back to them in a second. Number 2 on the list is stability. These towns are predictable in a good way. And what I mean by that is when you drive through them, you've got neighborhoods that are well kept. You've got homes that are well maintained, streets that are clean, quiet, and there's a definitive, strong sense of community. You've got neighbors outside waving to each other, people walking down the sidewalk with their dogs and their furry friends. You got people in strollers. And this is something that a lot of people take for granted until they find one of these neighborhoods. For relocation buyers especially, this matters more than you think. Because you're not just buying a house. It's not just 4 beds, 2.5 baths, and 2,500 square feet. It's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of community that a lot of these towns offer. They're reliable environments with neighbors who look out for each other, and that says a lot. Number 3 on the list is quality of life, and this is really connected to stability. And this is where these towns really separate themselves. Because beyond the schools and beyond the stability, it's about what your day-to-day actually feels like. For example, in West Hartford, you've got the Center and Blueback Square. You've also got Bishop's Corner. You've got a lot of activity in a nearby area. So whether you're popping to the doctor's, whether you have to run some errands, grab some lunch, grab a coffee, everything is right there in your own town. Similarly in Glastonbury, you've got a good mix of a nice local town center with grocery stores, shopping, coffee shops, and you can also be to an apple orchard in 15 minutes. If you're somebody that cares more about traditional suburbia with maybe a little bit more land and elbow room to spread out, maybe some hiking trails and some beautiful views, you might want to check out a place like Simsbury or Avon or Farmington. These are the reasons that a lot of people stay in these towns long term. It's not just because it's a beautiful home with great neighbors, it's also because the lifestyle fits what they're looking for. It's a strong quality of life. And if you're wondering specifically about what that quality of life looks like from town to town in the greater Hartford area, be sure to download my free relocation guide below where I outline all the pros and cons of these various towns. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. Where does this list fall short? Because rankings only tell half of the story. Number 1, Niche's list doesn't really factor in the price and value equation. Just because a town is higher ranked doesn't automatically mean it's a good fit financially. Oftentimes, it means the opposite. I see this play out all the time. People come in and they're so excited to see the Avons and the Simsburys and the West Hartfords of the world. But when they start to look at what their budget allows for them, it starts to tell a different story. And the numbers can shift between towns. And that doesn't mean you have to settle for a worse town just because it's lower on the list. It just means that you're gonna find a town with different amenities, maybe different price points. You're still gonna find strong schools. You're still gonna find a strong sense of community. It just might be ranked a little bit lower on your list. Let's take West Hartford and Wethersfield as an example. West Hartford is number 2 on Niche's list, and everybody wants to live there until they see the price tag. You might be able to buy a 3-bed, 1-bath, 1950s Cape that's gonna need some elbow grease and some equity dumped into it over the next couple of years for, let's call it $525,000. That same price tag, 5 miles down the street in Wethersfield, it's gonna get you something with 4 beds, 2 baths, maybe a little bit more land, and equally as strong schools, depending on who you talk to. And this is a really big one because towns that are ranked similarly can feel completely different in real life. Let me make this tangible. So the real question becomes, are you paying for the ranking, or are you getting the best overall value for you in your situation? Number 2 is that the list ignores lifestyle differences. And this is a big one, because towns that are right next to each other, ranked pretty similarly, can actually feel really different in real life. Let's make it tangible. West Hartford and Simsbury are right next door to each other on list and in real life. West Hartford, super walkable, you've got a lot more energy, you got people all over the place, it's a lot more densely populated. Simsbury, on the other hand, much more spread out, much more elbow room, much more room to breathe. They both got top-ranked schools, they both have great athletics programs, they both have a ton of town events, they've got a lot of town pride, but they are completely different. Just because they're right next to each other on a list like niche.com doesn't mean they're interchangeable. In fact, oftentimes, people who love West Hartford don't really gravitate towards Simsbury and vice versa. It's not that one is better or worse than the other, they're just different. And then you look at a town like Glastonbury, and that sits somewhere between the two. You've got solid amenities, good restaurants, but still more space and less density than somewhere like West Hartford. And like I said, it doesn't make any of these better or worse than the other, even though they are ranked as such on a list. It just means they fit different lifestyles. And this is exactly why my relocation buyers from Chicago ended up choosing Simsbury. Even though other towns ranked similarly or even higher, Simsbury matched how they actually want to live their day-to-day life. Number 3 on the list is geography and commute times. And this is something rankings really just can't capture. And it's a big one, especially for relocation buyers new to the area, particularly those who are moving for work. Because on a map, things can look really close together, but your actual day-to-day experience can feel very different. For example, let's take Simsbury, South Windsor, and Wethersfield. They might only look like a small difference distance-wise on a map, but depending on where you work, Hartford, a hospital system, or an office, that can mean a 10 or 20-minute commute versus 25 or 35 minutes. And that's a very different day-to-day experience. And beyond the commute, it also impacts things like how often you go out for your weekends, how connected you feel to your local community, and how connected you feel to nearby towns. And that's something you can really only understand once you're here. Or if you're working with somebody local who can map all of that out for you. Number 4, it overlooks underrated towns. And this is where I think there's real opportunity, because there are towns that may not rank as high as others on this list, but for many buyers, they're actually a much better fit overall. I'm talking about towns like Wethersfield or Newington or even South Windsor. For example, Wethersfield has a ton of historic charm and character and a really strong sense of community. And it's often at a much more approachable price point for a lot of people. Newington also offers convenience, amenities, access. It's centrally located with down towards New Haven or even west towards Waterbury. It often feels like the best option in terms of a commute. And again, it's at a much more approachable price point. It also has public utilities like public water and public sewer, really strong restaurants, strong identity when it comes to town athletics, and the school system is oftentimes highly ranked. And then you take South Windsor. South Windsor is a little bit farther east, but again, when you're considering a town like Glastonbury, that's east of the river, South Windsor can feel more appealing because the price point is more agreeable. There are many more new construction options. The schools are incredibly highly rated, and you have amenities like the Buckland Hills Mall, Evergreen Walk, public sewer and public water in a lot of places. And that can alleviate a lot of stress, particularly for people who are moving from different parts of the country and are used to those town resources. And again, these 3 towns are ranked lower on this list, but people who live there absolutely love it. And if you had asked them, hey, would you rather live in South Windsor or West Hartford? For them, the answer is simple. Just because West Hartford or Simsbury or Avon are higher on the list doesn't mean it's the best fit for them. So again, when you think about niche.com's list of top 10 places to live in Connecticut, a couple things stand out, right? First up is 6 of the top 10 towns are right here in Hartford County. And that says something, because for a long time, Fairfield is what got all the buzz, all the headlines, and for good reason. You're just outside of New York City, there's a lot of wealth there, the schools are highly competitive, the athletics are highly competitive, there are picturesque town centers to love in Fairfield County. Right behind Fairfield County, you have the shoreline, towns like Guilford, In Madison, in Branford, you had access to the Long Island Sound, you had natural beauty, walking paths, campgrounds, town centers, beautiful homes. There's a lot to love in that area too. But over the last few years, the last couple of decades in fact, the Hartford area has started to hold its own. Top of the list, we have some of the strongest schools in the state. Second, we have wonderful town centers. And third, you get a lot of value for your money. So if you're thinking about moving to Connecticut and you're looking at niche.com's list of best places to live, that's a great starting point, but it's not the whole story. Be sure you download my relocation guide by clicking the link below, or send me a text, shoot me an email, or reach out directly by picking up the phone. I would love to hear from you. I don't care if you're moving in 9 days or 9 months or anywhere in between. I would love to hear from you because this is what I do every day. I help people from all over the country call Connecticut home. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.